From the
I don't know what to say. I'm just speechless.
to the
I can't believe it.
we see all sorts of life-changing moments at McKinney competitions. How would you react? Cars, houses, tech bundles and more from just £2 a ticket. No purchase necessary. For competitions, rules and conditions, see mckinneycompetitions.com.
We had an audition for who was going to get chosen for an instrument, and I went into the room and the teacher said, there's a space in the orchestra for a French horn. If you pick up the French horn, you'll get into the orchestra straight away. I was like, that was it, sold. There was one student I had in particular who had a really bad speech impediment, and whenever we started singing, it went away. So Sophie, she auditioned amongst 5,000 other people for Junior Eurovision. At first it was a tape audition, and then she went down through all the rounds and she made it right through to the final 3 to represent Ireland, and she was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. At the end of a normal concert they would bring up a gift or flowers, and they brought that to the door for the virtual concert, and I was so touched by that. I was like, oh my goodness, they're so thoughtful, they really were, and they stood outside in the rain and cheered, and they were so excited for this virtual concert, and it was a huge success, and the concert raised £5,000.
That was the voice of Fiona Flynn, owner of Flynn Performing Arts, who's here today to tell us all about her hugely successful school that she opened just 6 years ago. Fiona loves her job, and the kids seem to love her teaching style as well. One of her students, Sophie Lennon, has just made her West End debut over in London. She also was a finalist in the Junior Eurovision Song Contest to represent Ireland. But Fiona is equally proud of all of her students, no matter what their ability or their achievements. It's all about having fun. They've put on some fantastic shows over the years, and even had a virtual one this year, which she tells us all about, as well as all of the other things that she's been up to and how she got where she is today. This is your host, Elaine Ingram, and here's Fiona now. So I'm here with Fiona Flynn from Flynn Performing Arts, and it's lovely to meet you.
Thanks very much, Elaine. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm delighted to have you, and it's because, especially because of the amount of huge success your studio, your school has had over the years. I mean, you're only around, 6 years, is it?
Yes, we formed in 2015, and I am so proud of all the students and their successes, but it's all down to their own hard work, and it does your heart good to see the enjoyment that they get out of it. And it's not just about the success, on the West End stage or whatever platform. It's every child's success story is different, and if they're enjoying their lessons from week to week and they're improving their confidence, that is what it's all about. So as long as they're enjoying it, it makes me a happy teacher.
Yeah. You're very young, like, to have this kind
I'm old enough.
I believe you just had a baby recently.
I have a 1-year-old who has started her terrible twos a bit early.
And they go on for more than a year, by the way.
Oh, great. I have it all ahead of me. Yeah, I have a wee girl, Annie, and she's 20 months now. So she was born just 2-3 weeks before the first lockdown. So for us, actually, it was a really good time because I got maternity leave at home and time with Annie that I never would have had.
Yeah.
So we really have enjoyed our time with her. And now things are all starting to pick back up again, but Annie's just fitting into our routine nicely. Yeah. And she loves to sing and play the piano too. So
she plays the piano already.
Oh my goodness, she runs down the hall, Mommy's working, and she likes to play the piano and show the students what she can do.
Now I have to ask you, Annie, the name, does it come from Annie?
No.
Was there any connection there at all?
There isn't, not Annie the musical.
No. Nothing. Wasn't like, I love that name.
No, we couldn't decide on a name, and because I have so many pupils, and my husband Richie is involved very heavily in the football, and we were trying to think of a name that wasn't associated with anybody that we work with. So I don't have any Annies. Well, I do have an Annie pupil now, but I didn't whenever I had...
Well, it is an unusual name. It's not a name you hear that much these days.
Yeah, it was just, I wanted a name that there wasn't going to be lots of in our primary school class or anything like that. And my dad's granny, she was Annie, and she's Annie May, so she's named after my grandmother who died on Christmas Eve, just before Annie was born. So that's where the name comes from.
Nice, yeah.
So I was thinking, oh my goodness, if she has red hair and she can sing, I'm going to have a real singing stage Annie.
Yeah. But you yourself now, Fiona, you how did you get involved in I assume it was from when you were a child?
It was. So my granddad lived in Cargan in Toonbridge, and every Sunday we went up in the car to visit him, and my mum and my sister also was musical. My brother's not so musical, but in the car we would sing rounds, and Mummy would start row, row, row your boat, and then I would start a bit later.
Oh, we used to do that in the car as well.
Yeah.
That must have been a thing.
It must have been a thing.
Your boat, yeah.
The whole way from Uri to Toonbridge, so a good an hour and 20 minutes, and we sang the whole way up and down in the car. And then I think Mum just realised maybe we enjoyed it anyway. Maybe they do have talent, and Mum inquired about getting a singing teacher just locally, and I went to an absolutely amazing girl, Kathy O'Connor, in Uri, and I started lessons, and 5 years old I was up singing in Warmpoint Fesh, and my very first competition as such was Carrie Cruppen Football Club, where my dad is now the chairman.
Right.
They had a talent show in the summer. They have a summer fun day thing, and I got up and I performed the boys from the County Armagh and the Green Giants of Antrim that Mummy had taught me in the car. So that was it. I just bitten the stage bug then, and I did singing lessons and went through the grades and different festivals and feshes and things like that. And when it came to, I was doing my A-levels in school, deciding what are you going to do.
What school did you go to then?
I went to the Sacred Heart.
And
I've been in the school choirs the whole way through with Alison Goss in St Ronan's, and then with Damien Frame in the Sacred Heart. And the music and the drama and all the tuition from the Sacred Heart was absolutely incredible, and that just continued my love of music. I couldn't decide what I wanted to go and do in university, and actuary was quite high on the list.
Right.
And
Actuary.
Right, so it's kind of like an insurance claim.
Yeah, that's
kind of
like far out of the
very far removed
the opposite
from
end
music.
of the scale. Yeah.
So my A-levels were kind of a mixed bag. It was music, Irish, business studies, and maths.
Right.
So that's probably a reflection on I really didn't have a clue what I wanted to do.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. So it came down to the day we had to confirm our UCAS choices, and my first choice was sitting with actuary, and my second choice was music. And before I clicked that confirm button, I changed my mind, and I went to the careers teacher and I said I want to switch my choices, and first was music and second was actuary, and I am so glad that is what I did. I can't imagine my life now being behind a desk, from 9 to 5, and that is for some people, but just not for me.
Yeah.
And I love the job that I have now, and I kind of just found my own path. Went to Queen's University and did a BMus, and I graduated from there and went to the Royal Irish Academy of Music in Dublin to continue. I did a postgrad diploma in performance and teaching, because I wasn't sure still at that route. Do I want to do the performance? Do I want to do teaching? And
well, it's a rough road, the performance, because, and I know you do performance. We'll get to that afterwards. But that decision would be a very important one, because performing is one thing because it's a very precarious sort of career.
Yes.
Whereas teaching, you're kind of once you get in there, you're guaranteed an income, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
Bread and butter, anyway. So
yeah. So the plan was always obviously to be able to support myself, and I wanted to be able to have a family. And Richie, my husband, was very much on the scene even back then. So he's been on the scene since first year of university.
Really?
Yeah. So a long time. And
but it's not that long. You're not that old.
Well, it took him 10 years now to pop the question, so I just wanted to make sure that he was sure. But that was a big part of my decision when I did that postgrad in Dublin. It was in performance and also teaching, so I wanted to have be educated in both ways.
Yeah,
it was a really good course. It was learning not just about vocal teaching, but actually teaching children with special needs and anything else, like teaching children with dyslexia or dyspraxia, and how I think the problems that they come across and how I would overcome that as a teacher or help them.
Yeah.
So it was that on top of the vocal performance and opera classes and language classes. So
did you do a language at all, or not a language? You just because you said that just language. Did you play an instrument at all, or was it just
yes,
piano? Was it?
I played the piano, but I also played the French horn.
Okay.
Very badly. Oh my goodness. Damien Frame in the school orchestra, he used to point at me, "This is your big moment, Fiona," and I'm like, "Meh," on the horn.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody waking up one day and say, I really, really, really want to play the French horn.
No.
Is it one of these things? Because I know that my children, my son, when he was in school, they were doing picking an instrument. They picked out kids who they thought might have potential, so they offered them lessons.
Yes.
And he landed with the double bass.
Oh.
But the reason why, do you know how they chose what children got what instrument was? Whoever could carry the double bass up and down the floor, this was in primary school.
Oh my goodness.
Was the one who got the double bass because he had
There
to bring
you
it
go.
home once a week. So the double bass, I can tell you, didn't last very long in my house. But anyway.
Oh gosh, well actually it was a little bit of that when it came to the French horn with me. I really wanted to play an instrument and I thought, I would like to play the flute. I thought the flute would suit me.
Much more.
Yeah, it would suit me. I was the smallest child in the Sacred Heart. And one of my first weeks there, we had a whole school photograph and they lined us up in height order and then they marched us out. And I was the very last first year, and the older girls were all, "Aww," as I came onto the platform. I was the tiniest child in the school and I was landed. We had an audition for who was going to get chosen for an instrument. And I went into the room and the teacher said, "There's a space in the orchestra for a French horn. If you pick up the French horn, you'll get into the orchestra straight away." I was like, that was it, sold. So I was like, oh, well, I'll do the French horn. And my teacher, Jim Wattsize, he wrote out a finger chart for the notes that I would need for the orchestra. Hadn't a clue, could hardly make a sound out of the thing. And off I went to the orchestra 3 weeks after starting the instrument. And I was able then to go as part of the music service orchestras on a Saturday morning after 3 weeks as well. So I went off every Saturday morning and it was great crack. I mean, I was terrible at the French horn, but I loved the crack.
And you'd found your people.
Yes, yeah, great friends. I mean, such good friends in the orchestra and people that I'm still friendly with now. So I enjoyed every minute, even though I wasn't exceptionally talented at French horn.
Did you get to do any singing then as well?
Yes, so obviously within the school choir, and then I auditioned for the Ulster Youth Choir, which is now the National Youth Choir of Northern Ireland, and I performed with them, and as well as all my own solo stuff. This ensemble was the National Youth Choir of Northern Ireland, Ulster Youth Choir, and their chamber choir. So we they had section leaders for that, and I was the soprano section leader, where that is just where they pick somebody from each section of the choir to kind of act as a leader, I suppose between the staff and the pupils or the students. And I got to do that, and that provided so many opportunities because we got to go on then and perform in the proms at the Royal Albert Hall. And for me,
that must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. My little sister Rachel, she was also in that choir, and that experience for me was, right, this is what I want to do
for the rest
I remember
of my
standing
life,
in the Albert Hall. My mum and dad flew over to see us and they were so proud. I mean, I was a dot on stage with about, 1,000 singers. For me, that was a really special moment. So that was it.
What age were you then?
I was about 17.
Right.
And I knew then, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I loved it. And yeah, that was it. The bug was bitten.
Yeah.
And I then with that same organisation, they invited me back a year or two later to be like an assistant section coach for the training choir, which is the choir below the one that I was in.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I've kind of just worked my way up or wiggled my way in, and now I am the soprano coach for both the National Youth Choir training choir and their main choir. So that's what I do now, and this summer I'll be going to work with them again. So I've kind of come full circle within that organisation. At the very bottom in the training choir, and now I am the person that's teaching all of these kids. So
yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And for me, the performance thing, yes, I really did enjoy that. But now I get so much more of a buzz out of teaching. And when I see my students performing on the stage, for me, that gets my adrenaline going. And I'm so nervous for them because there's nothing that's beyond my control and I can't do anything. But when I see them getting up and perform, I think, oh my goodness, I have made a difference in that person's life, or they're enjoying what they're doing. That for me is my performance buzz now. And I do get to perform. I am very lucky. I perform with many groups, with Sistina, they're all professional choral ensembles, Sistina, Chamber Choir Ireland, all of these groups. I love performing with them, and that's
Do they
great.
approach you and ask you to do things?
Sistina actually was formed from that concert in the Royal Albert Hall. The section coaches, so myself and another guy, Aaron O'Hare, we came together and we said, we have enjoyed this process so much. Is there, a possibility that we could, form something together to give us more performance opportunities? And Aaron approached his singing teacher, Mark Chambers, and an amazing guy, and he formed a group called Sistina. And we started in Christchurch and Derry, and we travelled up and down every single day for the week, and then we did a performance at the end of the week. And now Sistina has just boomed. And last week I was in London recording their first album. So we've been in the making for 10 years. So I've been performing with Sistina for 10 years, and it's gone from a tiny group of people who just wanted to perform to a huge organisation where Sistina now actually has the next generation, where they have a group of young singers who are training to do what we are doing. So they've got an education-based programme as well as all the performance. So yeah, but that's kind of the relationship I have with Sistina. With other groups, then it stems from that, where they need a soprano and somebody says, oh, Fiona Flynn, I recommend her, and they phone you and do a good job, and maybe they'll phone you again. So I've been really lucky.
So it's just your name precedes you then?
Yeah, I've been lucky. Well, it was hard work.
I suppose there aren't that many sopranos,
Oh, there are.
Pick from. Are there?
Thousands.
Really?
Thousands and thousands. There's so many, and there's so many talented people. It really is. It's about, it is about hard work, but being in the right place at the right time, and just the more connected you are, the more work you're going to get. So, yeah, that was all part of my, my path and my university, choices where I was going to go. From Belfast to Dublin, then I ended up in Glasgow.
Yeah, you ended up in Glasgow. You did
I did a master's.
Master's there, yeah.
I did a master's in vocal performance at the Royal Conservatoire in Glasgow.
Yeah.
I had the most amazing time there.
Is it difficult to get into somewhere like that, or is it just because of your, all the stuff you've done before? So
for universities, they don't care who you are or where you're from. It's all about.
It's just about your grades.
Yeah, well, about your audition on the day.
About your audition, yeah.
So I remember Glasgow wasn't even on my radar, to be honest. I wanted to go and do a master's, and I had in my head that I wanted to go to Wales. And I applied for Glasgow, and I applied for Wales and Manchester and London. And Glasgow was
I'd say London is very expensive to live in, though.
Oh,
that's
absolutely,
the problem,
yeah. Glasgow was my very first audition, and I flew over, and as soon as I walked into the conservatoire, I just felt, oh my goodness, I think this place is for me. And something just clicked, and I wasn't even expecting to get through the first round, to be honest. And I went in and I performed, and the lady said...
What's it like? Is it really nervous when you're standing there? Is it like butterflies? And
Yes. Well, the experience actually was much different to what I expected. It was a little bit like X Factor kind of panel. Yeah. The very first round wasn't.
I'm just envisioning Fame. You know the
Yes.
movie Fame, where they're all sitting there, and it's like...
It's not that far removed from that, to be honest. So the first round is it was a small room, and it was quite dark, and I walked in and there was two people sitting there, and you perform your pieces, and she said to me at the end, oh, thank you for performing, and thanks very much for coming today. And the tone that she said it, I was like, oh, great, I'm not getting through.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming, as always, like, yeah.
So she said, you can go down to the front desk now, and they'll let you know if you need to stay. So I kind of, shimmied down to the front desk thinking, oh, that was my day in Glasgow. I've had a nice time anyway, but oh well, never mind. It was the first audition. And I got down, and they'd sent it down through an iPad.
The results.
Yeah, the results. Yeah. So the girl was sitting there, and she said, oh yes, they want to see you again. And I was like, oh. I was kind of shocked. I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And got through. It was 4 rounds. So the same day, I just kept getting through the rounds, and then the more I got through, the more I really wanted to get a space. Like, I really wanted to be there.
Nice.
The more time I spent there, and I got to the final round, which was a scholarship audition, and when I came out of that audition, I really didn't know, have I got a place, have I not? And then after that, it was a waiting game, and I remember teaching a pupil in Rough Island one Friday, and the phone went, and a notification came up from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and I opened it and I screamed in the middle of the lesson. I could not believe that I had been offered a place, so I was thrilled.
Yeah.
And then I went to...
What year was that?
That was... No, hold on, let me think. I finished 2000 and... I went to the Conservatoire in 2013, so this was the previous Christmas, so 2012.
Yeah.
And I went to the other auditions then in Manchester, Wales and London, knowing that I had already got a place in Glasgow.
It's probably a lot more relaxed.
Yeah, I was. It really made me feel calmer about the whole situation, and I'm in a little bit more confident, I suppose, in that I've got a place somewhere, so I know I can go somewhere next year. And I went to those other auditions, a little bit more confident, obviously nervous. Yeah. And I was really fortunate to be offered places in all 4 of the places that I went to.
But that must be really affirming. You know.
Yeah, I was so delighted, but that kind of left me in that position where I don't know where I'm going to choose, because Wales was on my radar. It was the very last audition that I went to, and after my audition I got snowed in at the airport in Wales, and I was stuck there, and I ended up getting...
So this is like the fate.
Yeah, I ended up getting a train to London, and I was doing a concert in London a few days later, so I stayed there for a few days, and then I came home, and that plane getting cancelled in London, or in Wales, getting snowed in, I don't know, that just kind of set me off. I actually don't think I'm going to go to Wales.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to be travelling back at the weekends to teach my pupils at home.
How did you fit in all the time for all of this?
It was crazy. When I look back now, I was absolutely mental to do that.
Yeah, would you not have decided, right, well, I'm going to put the teaching on hold for a bit and, and focus on...
Well, the reason why I was going to Glasgow, it was a vocal performance, so it was performance masters, but I wanted to be the best that I could be, and I wanted to, be educated by the best people. And my plan was always, I loved the teaching so much, and I had, this has been going on. My plan was always to come home and teach, or open some sort of school here. But I wanted to get the best education I could so that I could pass that on to my pupils. I wanted to be as well connected as I could, for myself, obviously, for different concerts, but also for my pupils.
Yeah.
So that was my reason in going to do a master's in the first place. So I didn't want to give up the teaching, because when I was finished the 2 years, I was going to be coming back
and doing it anyway. So you needed one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I had built up, maybe 15 students or so, and they'd begun to be entered for feshes and that, and the waiting list grew a little. And then when I came back from Glasgow, I finished there, and I didn't want to go on and do any more study. I wanted to come home and be with Richie, my now husband, and open up a school. So I came home in 2015 and I opened Flynn Performing Arts, and the waiting list was long enough whenever I came home, so I was able to contact all those pupils and say, I'm home now in Uri, I'm going to be teaching full time.
Yeah.
And within about 2 weeks I was at my absolute maximum capacity, and it has stayed that way ever since I opened. So I am so grateful for all the students that I have, and for all those who are interested in being a part of the school. And I'm very proud of what we have achieved in the time that we have, in such a short space of time. But I'm so proud of all my students, and I'm really lucky, and I've got such support from my own family, but also the parents of the students that I have. They're so supportive, and if I need anything, or when it comes to concerts or shows, they're always there to help me out, and they're offering their support or anything they can do. I'm just so fortunate with everyone that I have there. So I love every minute of it.
You, speaking of your students, you've had I know success. You're saying you're proud of all of them, and it isn't about, but you do have an awful lot of students that come out of there that go on to do huge things. Like, for example, I'm going to talk about like Sophie Lennon right now.
Yes,
she got to the final of the Junior
Eurovision,
and at the same time she debuted on Broadway.
Oh yeah, in the West End.
In the West End.
Yeah.
Well, Broadway. The West End. that'll be next. But
I'm sure it will.
I'm sure it will, yeah.
Yeah.
But she debuted in the West End. She's only, what, 11?
She's 11 years
of
old.
age? Yeah.
So, yeah, Sophie is just, one of a lot of very many talented students, but she has been really lucky, and she is so talented and hardworking.
Yeah, I've heard her singing. She's a beautiful singer, yeah.
She's fabulous for 11 years old, and she just has such, soul and such power in her voice, and she is like a sponge. She really wants to soak up everything that she can, and she listens to everything, and that's why she's so successful. She works so hard, and her family are so supportive. So Sophie, she auditioned amongst 5,000 other people for Junior Eurovision. At first it was a tape audition, and then she went down, got through all the rounds, and she made it right through to the final 3 to represent Ireland. And she was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and she did herself proud, and she gave the performance of a lifetime. She really did, and she enjoyed every minute of it. And then just all at the same time, she's a member of Stagebox training in London, and they are a training school for child stars in the West End, and she's actually there. She's in Birmingham this week.
How did they get involved in things like that if they're here? If you're here,
send them for auditions. So there's a few of the students actually who have auditioned. I had 7 students last year audition and were successful for Stagebox. So that is they just send off an audition. Because of COVID, it has been video audition.
Yeah.
And they run training programs where they run on school holidays. So it's 4 weeks, so Halloween, Easter, and 2 in the summer. And the children fly over and they do like a week's training with industry professionals, but it's just all about getting them more experience. And when they're over there in that atmosphere, they're among children who are starring currently in Matilda or School of Rock or in Frozen. There's 2 of the young cast in Frozen. They're working with these children all the time, and they're meeting people who are interested in the same things as they are. And it's just a really good platform for them, outside of Newry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Newry's fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm a Newry girl.
Yeah.
But, and there are so many opportunities in Newry, but it's, there's people like that.
Broadening their horizons.
Who want to go on and do more. So there were 7 of them last year who were lucky enough to be involved in that. And then there's 2 currently this year, Sophie and another student, Claire Keeley. And they are currently training with Stagebox as well. And that provides so many more opportunities for performance in London.
Yeah.
And on the bigger stages. So the West End performance for Sophie has come through that, and she performed in Children of Eden. And
how did it go for her? I saw that she was having her debut, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was there on the debut.
Were you invited?
No, I bought a ticket. I was so proud, and I went over with my sister Rachel. My sister Rachel lives in London, so she met me, and we went off to see Sophie, and I was proud as punch watching her on stage doing her thing, and her face, she was just beaming from start to end. And the composer, Stephen Schwartz, was in the audience. He's the composer of Wicked. And it was a star-studded cast. So for her debut to be, amongst those people, she had the time of her life, and it was an amazing experience for her. And I was so proud.
In the door as well,
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure, whenever they're looking for child performers again, she now has experience on the West End stage.
She's got her CV.
Yeah, she's building it all up. So yeah, she's a dream student to work with.
Is there ever a danger now? You think of these very young children, and they're going out into the big wide world of the entertainment industry. Is there ever a danger of them? You see child stars that fall by the wayside, or either not working out for them and that affecting them badly because they're so young. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you've basically been put into an adult world of a job, a career.
Yes.
At such a young age. Is there any way of keeping their feet on the
grounded?
ground? Yeah.
Well, the girls that I have that have had those big experiences so far, their families are so supportive, but number one thing for them, yes, they love singing and musical theatre and dancing and all the rest of it. Number one thing is their school education, which is so important. And I would never allow any of my students to leave education to do something like that. For the likes of Sophie and Claire and all those other pupils who have had that professional experience, they're all still in school, working hard, getting their homework done. And for Sophie, she made her debut in the West End on a Sunday, and on Monday morning she was back in Sacred Heart Grammar School at the books. and she's her head in the book. She actually wants to do medicine. She's decided.
She sounds like an ambitious young lady.
A young age.
Hard worker, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, I suppose, is just to have that hard work at whatever it is you choose to do.
Yeah. I mean, if they choose to go on whenever they're finished their GCSEs or A-levels, if they choose to go on and do musical theatre, that's absolutely great. And they're going to colleges to do that. But it's so important that obviously they finish their education before they go off and do that. And you can have professional experience as a child, but you still have to, get your GCSEs and A-levels, because if it does all, fall to the side, at least they have that to come back to. And you know what? And I always think that as long as you're happy and you're happy in what you're doing, that's what's important. So if they're happy performing and they want to, after the GCSEs, go off and do that, well, great. Yeah. So as long as you're happy in life, that's the main thing.
Get ready to shake up summer with the Get Active ABC Sunshine Fill programme for kids and families. Get set for land-based adventure at our summer schemes, or why not get adventurous and maybe get wet at our Splashtastic Water Sports Summer programme. There are so many things to do, and all we need is you. See getactiveabc.com/summer for all the details.
I know you said now your husband is chairman of Carcuppin.
My dad is. Yes.
You're sorry.
My
Your dad is chairman of Carcuppin, and your husband is involved in football.
He is heavily involved in football.
Who's he involved with? Is Cuppin as well?
No, he's not. I married a Down man, so we're Armagh people in our house.
Oh, that's good, because this is for Armagh. But we do allow some Down people in as well. What club is he involved with?
He's involved with Strevor.
Oh, with Strevor.
So he's with Strevor. So he was their secretary for a few years, and now he does PRO for them. So
is that Richie Reynolds?
He is Richie Reynolds.
Richie.
Yeah,
I know Richie,
yeah. So he's a Down man. So when I started going out with Richie, my brother was not impressed. Down man, but Richie wiggled his way in our house, and his nickname in our house is Saint Richie, putting up with me.
But what I was going to ask you, pertaining to that, I suppose, was: do you ever come across any pushy parents? Because I'm just thinking about the sideline of football matches where you have, probably not so much in soccer, it's probably more in GAA, and I know Richie's involved in both. Yeah. But do you ever come across? Now I know you're not going to tell me if there's any specific pushy parents, but you must in your line of work come across parents who are trying to push their children and maybe aren't as enthusiastic as they are.
Well, I know exactly what you mean. I'm saying this completely honestly, I don't have a single pushy parent. Of all the people that I teach, the students want to be there and they enjoy being there. And yes, their parents are supportive, but I've never ever had a parent, who wants the child to do this, and this, and the child's not fit for it. I've never had that. I suppose it's my job to make sure that the child is able to do it and be the best that child can be. So that's my job, and the parents are really supportive of that. And I'm really lucky so far. I haven't had any complaints from parents.
You haven't had to shove any parents out the door.
I've never had that.
My child. I'm looking after your child now. Go away and don't.
I've never had that, and I have watched that series. I'm sure you've watched it. It's pretty awful. Dance Moms, where you see the parents.
I've heard of it. Yes.
Oh my goodness! They would cut each other's tutus and cut
that
each other's. Oh my goodness! I've never seen anything like that. And I mean, there's so much music going on here in Newry, and there's Newry Fesh and Warrenpoint Fesh, and the atmosphere like that just doesn't exist here. Yeah. All the students are so supportive of each other. And I think the good thing about my school is that all the students here are friends. Yeah. And they love working together.
And it's a small enough area that you're dealing with, that they know each other, you know what I mean? That they would, a lot of them would know each other outside of
absolutely.
the school anyway. So
yeah, it's the whole mix of schools, and we come together to do group performances, and they all meet each other and they're friends with each other. And then that kind of, competitive side, it's not there. They're all... they're going to see so-and-so performing, and she was brilliant, I love that song, I would love to try that song. I don't have that, real competitive side.
Yeah. Well, my daughter did New Point this year for the first time.
Oh, yes, and,
she absolutely, talk about being bitten by the bug, she absolutely adored it. But that was the one thing it was coming home every day, and I never saw anybody who was just so excited to go the next day during the summer. But she said, like, they all, and they're still friends now, and they'll all go back next year, but made this group of friends that were, I suppose, when they find a common theme, that they're all interested in the same thing, but they're so supportive of each other. I found that. I was a bit concerned about.
No, we don't really seem to have that here. Yeah, even with Hearing Musical Society and Bosco Drama Group and the Panto Players on New Point, there's not that clique. It's not, it's not very cliquey. Everyone is welcoming and open to whoever wants to be there, and everyone just gets on, and the number one priority is putting on the performance. And it's great that they're all friends, but that competitive side, I don't see it. So, which is great, and long may it continue.
How do you feel about reality TV shows like The Voice and that kind of thing? Because do you think that has potential to turn people into much more?
I mean, a lot of those shows like The Voice and Britain's Got Talent,
or The X Factor,
those kind of shows. It's great for if you audition and you get through. Obviously, that's fabulous. But a lot of those shows, they're not real. It's reality television. I mean, it's all fake. And I actually had a friend who was on Britain's Got Talent and was scouted from the very
I heard
start.
About this because I just interviewed somebody who was on Dancing with the Stars. And he was on Britain's Got Talent as well. And he said the same thing. They were lucky that their dance group did get through. They weren't, but they said that they know way in advance that they're who they have.
Get through,
it is really like TV. But then again, I was just reminded of Jessie Buckley. She's such a fabulous Irish actress. She was in Chernobyl. She was actually on Graham Norton the other night because she's in some new film. But she started off in there was one a number of years ago, an Andrew Lloyd Webber. When he was trying to find the next Nancy. I loved that show. It was brilliant. But she came second in it. But she came out of that, and she seems like a very grounded person. So I suppose it isn't always the case.
There are real stories that do come through shows like that. But a lot of the ones that you see on the television, they're all about producing a good show, and a lot of those stars that you see on that have been scouted. Which is it's fine,
But as well as that, not even that. It's like when it's over. I mean, I know. I used to watch the X Factor all the time. I gave up after about the 500 millionth season because I got bored of it. The formula becomes very old at some point. But I always said, right, to be really, really gunning for whoever you want to win. I would never in a million years have bought a record of any of those.
I know. Or lifted the phone to vote.
Or lifted the phone to vote. 3 weeks later, their history, they're forgotten about. Most of them. I mean, obviously a few of them go on to be huge. But
there are
very
some
rarely.
There are some real success stories. But I mean, that you're flung into, high profile straight away, and that's not a sustainable career. A lot of the pupils or people who want to go on and do this as a career, it's hard work, it's a tough slog, and you've got to be in it for the long run. And those kind of shows might accelerate the fame, but I mean, you're not really in it for the fame. A lot of the students are doing it because they love doing it. It's not just because they want to be famous, it's because they want to be on stage because they get a good buzz from being there. It's not about I want to be signing autographs. It's not really what it's about.
And that is the key thing, because shows like the X Factor and everything, or any of those sort of reality shows, you'll find younger children like saying, right, I want to be famous. And if you go in there with that idea from the start, if you do anything because you want to be famous, then it's just never going to work.
No, definitely not. I absolutely agree. It's not about the fame. It's hard work.
And you mentioned earlier about teaching children with disabilities, and I know you do a lot of charity work as well. Like a lot of your stuff is performance for charity, but back to the children with disabilities or with any autism or anything like that. How do you find music and teaching them helps?
I don't have a lot of students who have disabilities, but I have taught people who have had some sort of disability, and for them music, it's amazing to see how it impacts on their life. And there was one student I had in particular who had a really bad speech impediment, and whenever we started singing, it went away.
That's amazing.
it went away, and it was amazing, and it was all because of their breath flow and the flow of the air, which was what was stopping the sound, which was causing the speech impediment. And whenever they sang, it disappeared. And whenever we stopped singing, the student was able to have a conversation, and the speech impediment was gone.
Did it go permanently, or was it
over the
did they have to
years?
just
It has become less and less and less to the
speech?
fact that you would hardly know that the speech impediment was there.
That's incredible.
So, for me, to see music, having that sort of impact on somebody's life, and it's for singing in particular, it's amazing. And although I have no personal experience, I have, watched many documentaries on, how children who are non-verbal or who have severe disabilities, how music, impacts on them, and I think that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Something that I would love to know more about.
Yeah.
But I don't.
That's the next
hours
on
in
your
the
list.
day. Yeah. But, I'm always trying to find new things.
Cognitive,
Educate myself. And it's something that I'm interested in. And the music psychology and what goes on, what the mind is thinking whenever we're performing, and it's just something that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's something that I'd be interested in learning more about.
Yeah. And how was lockdown for you in terms of teaching? I mean, obviously you had to do everything online,
Yes.
and I'm sure it couldn't possibly be the same, but you managed to put on an absolutely incrable
Concert.
concert.
Yeah.
You got them all in a Zoom, and you taped them all individually.
Yeah.
and
So that was a nightmare.
it was fantastic.
It was worth it. The lockdown, the very first lockdown, I didn't do anything because it was all new and I wasn't sure what was going on, and I had this 3-week-old baby in the house, and I thought, this is crazy. So the second lockdown, we had Zoom lessons, and I didn't even have a clue what Zoom was.
Oh,
And now
yeah,
it's
join the club.
number one thing on my list. So Zoom, and we had Zoom
We're all
lessons.
experts in Zoom now.
Yeah, and they were hard. Because of the time delay. Usually in the room, I would play for my students, and they sing, and then we chat about what had just happened. But I couldn't do that because I couldn't play the piano for them in my house and them sing in their house because of the delay. It sounded like we were totally not in sync. So I ended up recording accompaniments for all my students, sending them through, and then they played them on another device, on a speaker or whatever, and performed. So they were able to have some sort of accompaniment. The Zoom lessons, actually, they weren't completely awful. I mean, they definitely weren't as good as in person, but it was better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then I came up with the crazy idea. Biannually, we do an end-of-year concert for charity every year, and we've raised £30,000 so far since our formation.
That's fantastic.
So I didn't want there not to be a concert, and that was the year that there was to be a concert, and I thought, right, am I crazy? I'm going to do a virtual concert. So I phoned the accompanist, Danny O'Neill. I said, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, go for it. That was all I needed to hear.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, go for it. So I sent out tracks. I had guide tracks for all my students to sing along with me. They recorded their parts. I merged it all together, so everyone was in time. I merged it all together, and we had about 2 hours worth of material, and there was solos and duets, and the boys did a few pieces, and then the whole group. And it turned out really well. And we had a premiere. We premiered it on YouTube, and the students were all so excited. And on the day of the concert, I mean, I was having kittens because the thing wouldn't upload to YouTube the night before. I sat up all night trying to get it uploaded, and eventually it went. And I was nearly sick. I thought, I have spent weeks on this and no one's going to see it. Yeah. The students aren't even going to see their own work. But thankfully it uploaded, and on the day of the concert, I was in the house and the doorbell went, and I went outside, and all of my students were standing outside the front of my house in the pouring rain with presents and cake and all things that at the end of a normal concert, they're so kind. At the end of a normal concert, they would bring up a gift or flowers, and they brought that to the door for the virtual concert, and I was so touched by that. I was like, oh my goodness, they're so thoughtful. They really were, and they stood outside in the rain and cheered, and they were so excited for this virtual concert, and it was a huge success. And the concert raised £5,000. So I'm really glad that we did it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's something that's always there. You know, it's still on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch it.
Yeah,
but
it's brilliant.
Yeah, and they did so well, and for them to do that virtually was really incredible.
But they would have loved it too, because it was something for them to do as well, you know.
Well, I think the idea at the start, they were so excited, but I think, you know, when they were on take 50 and they were getting it wrong, I was sent some of the outtakes. Well, they were absolutely hilarious.
You could make a movie.
We had an outtakes at the end of the concert. It must have been about 10 minutes long, and that was only the highlights that went into it. So funny, but they all enjoyed it. They did enjoy it, and although it was a tough slog, sitting at the computer with, you know, a few months old baby, it was hard work, but no, it definitely was worth it. But I'm glad now this year we'll be back to normal. Fingers crossed.
Are you back to normal now?
We are back to normal, as much as normal can be.
Yeah.
I'm back teaching in school, and I mean the screens are up and the masks are on, but we're in the same room, and that's important.
The important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back in the same room, and everyone's back at their lessons in the studio at home, and fingers crossed we'll have a normal year this year with the Fesh is back in person, not virtual, and the concert hopefully May or June time this year will be back in person with a live audience.
Have you got it in mind of what you're doing and all?
We haven't yet. I've got ideas. All the ideas are stored in my head, and we haven't.
Do you come up with this all together yourself? Like, you got the idea? Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, the students will say, "Oh, please, can we do this? And please, can we do that?" I mean, some of the requests are ridiculous, but oh God, they'll come up with, you know, can we do the Lion King in full costume? And I'm like, no. We're on a budget here. The costumes really dictate what we do. You know, some of the costumes, I would love to do something like that, but it really dictates on what is actually possible. And of course, we've got to be realistic in what the students can do right now. I don't want to be giving them anything that's too big and ruining their voices. I think it's really important, you know, to look after their own vocal health. But they always have great crack. We rehearse on a Sunday, and we haven't started back those group rehearsals yet. So I am up to my eyes at the minute producing Billy Elliot here. So whenever that's over, we'll start.
Where's that for?
St Coleman's College
in
Uri. So that's our first like real thing back in person.
They put on great shows.
Yeah, I was really lucky. 2 years ago, we did West Side Story. Oh, your son went to St Coleman's? Yeah, he was in Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh, yeah. So that was just before my time there. So West Side Story was my first one in St Coleman's. I have been a singing teacher there for 6 years. So that was my first production that I've been involved in. And with Sinead Frame, his musical director.
That was my son's, he was in the choir.
Oh, there you go.
Until you wouldn't do it anymore. Probably like third year, he was like, no, I'm not really in the choir anymore. I love hearing those boys with their beautiful voices of angels. Oh, yeah. The boy choirs are amazing.
Amazing. They really are, and they work so hard. So with Sinead and my mother-in-law, Leo Reynolds, is the choreographer.
I know Leo too. Yes.
So West Side Story we did together, and now we are doing Northern Irish premiere of Billy Elliot.
Brilliant.
So that is.
Have you got your principal dancer?
Oh, we have, and he's absolutely fantastic. Owen Drum. He is a superstar. He is second year student, and he's actually one of my students at Flynn Performing Arts, and he is fab.
Yeah.
And the show, oh my goodness, I was very stressed at the start of this week, but we've had 3 days now in the college with the boys, and they have girls from surrounding schools as well, and it's coming together. We have a show. We did our first run yesterday, so the bones of it's there, so it's polishing up now over the next couple of weeks, and it's so exciting. At the start, whenever we had to go ahead to do the show, I was thinking, well, I don't know whether it'll happen, but the learning process will happen, and they'll get a lot out of that. And the children have been so excited to be in a rehearsal room together and actually perform something after 18 months of nothing.
Yeah.
Or performing to their own camera at home. They're in a room with everyone else, and the learning process has been fab, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, even the ones where I'm turning my hair out. But we're getting there, and it's a really difficult show, but fair play to St Coleman's for putting the best foot forward and saying, no, we're going to we're going to go for it. And I think it's a really important part of the education of the boys in that school. Like, you know, every year they're getting a show, and the principal of the Cobans is so supportive of music and the arts. Yeah, he's a fantastic man, and he was like, no, I'm not going to deny the boys the opportunity, COVID or no COVID.
Well, they look
the
forward
show
to
will
it.
go on. Yeah,
they really do. I mean,
absolutely
yeah,
do.
It's something that, you know, extracurricular, that they something different that they, you know, anybody who's involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a learning process for me and for the boys and for the girls involved, but we are nearly there. We're nearly at the finish line.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, in a couple of weeks we'll have our opening night. So hopefully things will work out. But they've worked so hard, and they deserve for the show to go on and for people to see all the work that they've been doing. So it's been great. It's been really good experience for everyone involved there.
Last question. Is there ever can anybody sing?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever have people that come to you, they want to sing, and they're tone deaf and they don't even know that they can't sing? What do you do in that scenario? Or
that has actually happened. So I had a student. Now, before I started teaching, I always thought there are people in this world that are tone deaf, my brother being one of them. And
apologies to his brother if he's listening.
I always thought Barry is as unmusical as myself and my sister.
But does he know that he can't sing?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because some people think that they can sing, but they actually can't.
Yeah.
And they don't
know.
No,
he knows that he can't, but he knows the words of every song, like every song, every word of every song, and he gets up and he'll perform. And fair play to him. But there's music in Barry. He can't sing, but there definitely is, and there's rhythm. And his two boys, well, he's 3 boys now. One is just 3 weeks old, but there's music in the boys. So there's definitely something there. Barry, he didn't sing, but he did sing the loudest at parties, but he can't sing. But I had a student then who came, and when I played a note on the piano, they couldn't pitch it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had never had anybody, like this before. That child was like my project. I was like, you are going to sing. So every week I found that it was easier to pitch from my voice than the piano. So some children actually have that they can't process the sound from piano into their own voice. So I sung the note, and they were able to perform the note back. And after, a couple of months, we got 2 or 3 notes in tune, and then we got 5 notes, and I thought, right, we can do a song. We can sing a song. And that child now is doing a grade 7 in singing and has got distinctions in every grade so far.
That's brilliant.
So it is definitely, every single person can sing.
Yeah.
It just takes some people longer to process the pitch and match the pitch. And it can be trained. It absolutely can be trained. So I do not believe that anybody in this world is tone deaf. I think everybody can sing. It just takes some people longer to latch on. Some people are gifted. I mean, born and open their mouth and it's pitch perfect and the tone is beautiful.
Yeah.
And, have really show-stopping voices. And others, it just takes a while longer. But it definitely, everybody can sing.
Including Barry.
I just haven't got my hands on Barry yet. I don't think it would be cool for him to come to his sister for singing lessons. Definitely not. I don't know whether I could put up with that. Sibling more.
Okay, well that's brilliant, Fiona. Thanks a million for chatting with us.
Thanks very much.
And that was really enjoyable and very informative.
Oh God, I hope I didn't blather on too much.
And the best of luck with all of the projects that are upcoming. Billy Elliot and whatever show you decide to put on with Flynn Performing Arts.
Thank you so much. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that chat. Fiona really was lovely to talk to, and it was really interesting hearing all about the projects that are upcoming, and I hope they all do really well. Make sure to keep getting all of your news from Armagh, and I hope you join us next time for our podcast.
From the
I don't know what to say. I'm just speechless.
to the
I can't believe it. Can't believe it. Can't believe it.
we see all sorts of life-changing moments at McKinney competitions. How would you react? Cars, houses, tech bundles and more from just £2 a ticket. No purchase necessary. For competitions, rules and conditions, see mckinneycompetitions.com.